A romantic hiking trip in the forest turns into a terrifying nightmare that fuses two lovers into one body forever. The film opens with a search for two hikers who have been reported missing for 5 days in the middle of an American forest. During the search, the rescue team is assisted by 2 intelligent dogs. The dogs are seen wandering around a mysterious cave, and because they are thirsty, they drink water from a spring inside the cave. After coming out of the hole, the 2 dogs suddenly stand still and stare at each other for an unusually long time. Their owner does not realize that something strange has affected their behavior. Since the search yields no results, the team eventually decides to head home. That night, the man wakes up after hearing loud noises coming from the dog kennel. When he checks on them, he is horrified to find that the 2 dogs' bodies have fused together without any clear explanation. The scene then shifts to a male musician named Tim who lives with his girlfriend, an elementary school teacher named Millie. They are hosting a farewell party attended by their close friends. Tim and Millie are planning to move to their dream home in the countryside because Millie has secured a new teaching position there. In the middle of the party, Millie suddenly proposes to Tim in front of everyone. It is a surprising moment, considering how rare it is for a woman to propose first. Tim, caught off guard, hesitates before responding. Although he eventually accepts, his uncertainty leaves Millie slightly upset.
This isn't that big of a deal. It's just a couple hours away.
But I'm so proud of Millie.
That's it.
To spend the rest of your life with me.
Of course, yes. I do.
Sorry.
The next day, they move into their peaceful new home, far from the noise of the city. Upon arriving, they busy themselves unpacking, as Millie is scheduled to begin teaching at the elementary school the next day. However, Tim suddenly notices a foul smell coming from the ceiling. When he investigates, he discovers that the odor comes from a cluster of dead rats whose tails appear to be bound tightly together.
Hey, babe, do you smell that?
The next day, Millie starts her new job as a teacher. On her first day at work, she meets another teacher named Jamie. He seems friendly and easily connects with new people. After chatting for quite some time, Millie finds out that Jamie actually lives not far from her house. That night before going to bed, Millie approaches Tim, who's busy rehearsing for his band's upcoming tour. She invites him to go hiking the next day in the forest near their home, and Tim agrees to the plan.
How's it going?
Hey, do you maybe want to do that hike you were telling me about?
Yeah, that'd be great. Love you.
Love you.
The next morning, they enjoy their hiking trip in the forest. The quiet atmosphere makes them feel peaceful. After walking for quite some time, Tim and Millie notice numerous bells hanging from the trees around them. Sensing something unsettling about the place, Tim decides not to continue in that direction.
Seems pretty overgrown.
It's marked. We're good. We can always turn back. It's just...
They head back as the afternoon approaches and dark clouds signal incoming rain. Unfortunately, they lose their way in the forest. With no phone signal available, they have no choice but to rely on the compass Tim brought. Using it as their only guide, they try to find their way home. However, misfortune strikes again when they accidentally fall into a mysterious cave. As the rain pours harder outside, Tim decides they should take shelter inside the cave for the time being. After spending a long time there, they begin to feel thirsty and their water supply is almost gone. Luckily, they find a clear spring inside the cave that appears safe to drink. Without much thought, they drink from it to quench their thirst.
I'm so thirsty.
Me too. All right, finish this.
Babe.
Man versus wild, babe.
While waiting for the rain to stop, they sit together and enjoy the quiet moment. As they fall asleep, Tim briefly senses a presence approaching them, but when he wakes up, he realizes it was only a dream. The next morning, they are shocked to discover that their legs are stuck together as if glued. They struggle to pull apart, but every time they try, their skin feels like it is peeling off along with it. Eventually, they manage to separate their legs.
Only you could sleep in a wet cave.
Let's just get home.
Wait, stop.
Ow. Ow, that hurt.
I know.
After that, they climb out of the cave and return home. Once there, Millie asks Tim to massage her shoulders, which ache from sleeping on the hard ground. Tim immediately begins massaging her, but something feels strange inside him. As his fingers touch her skin, he experiences an unfamiliar sensation, and without realizing it, he squeezes her skin too hard, causing Millie pain. Later, Millie tells Tim to rest at home while she goes into town to buy groceries. After she leaves, something strange happens to Tim again. His body suddenly moves on its own, as if controlled by an unseen force. Every time Millie steps on the brakes or her car jolts on the road, Tim's body jerks and lurches in sync with those movements. He feels physically connected to her, as though an invisible bond ties their bodies together despite the distance between them. Panic begins to set in, as Tim realizes he has no control over the disturbing movements. After the incident, Tim begins to feel unwell and decides to see a doctor. However, the doctor tells him that he is simply experiencing severe stress. The explanation does nothing to address what Tim is truly going through. The doctor also advises Tim and Millie to be cautious, mentioning that a couple had gone missing in the forest a few months earlier. Once back home, Tim grows curious about the case and immediately searches for news about it online. From what he reads, the couple disappeared while hiking in the forest. To this day, they have not been found, and the search operation was eventually called off because the rescue team discovered no clues about their whereabouts. Millie feels saddened after hearing about the missing couple.
You know people went missing around here?
Really?
Not long after, Jamie stops by to visit Tim and Millie. He explains that the neighborhood they live in is quite quiet. It used to be lively, but over time, many residents moved away. Now, the only neighbors he can really visit are Tim and Millie. After Jamie leaves, Tim suddenly admits that he really wants to kiss Millie, but in the middle of the kiss, their mouths seem to stick together and become difficult to separate.
Ow!
Millie is startled and assumes that Tim deliberately bit her. The misunderstanding sparks a heated argument between them before they go to bed. In reality, Tim has no idea what just happened and does not feel that he did anything intentionally. In the middle of the night, Millie feels her hair being gently pulled. When she turns around, she is horrified to see strands of her hair inside Tim's mouth. Strangely, Tim is not doing it consciously. He is just as shocked and struggles to pull Millie's hair out of his mouth.
My hair.
Once it finally comes free, a significant amount of her hair has fallen out because of the incident. Millie is utterly confused and cannot comprehend the disturbing events that keep happening between them. The next morning, Tim prepares himself to leave for tour with his band. Before departing, a small argument breaks out between them as Millie asks Tim not to go, seeing that he is clearly not in good condition. However, Tim insists on leaving because he has been looking forward to this tour for a long time.
Are you ready?
Are we really not going to talk about last night? If you're
Wait.
sick, you should stay home.
Come on,
I don't think you should go.
please. I can't miss the train.
After they part ways, Millie goes to work as usual while Tim waits for his train. Yet once again, after being separated, Tim's body starts to feel strange. Even the pills prescribed by the doctor fail to calm him. He feels as if his body cannot stay away from Millie. Overwhelmed by anxiety and frustration, Tim turns back and rushes to where Millie is. Elsewhere, Millie, who has just finished teaching, is startled when she sees a drawing made by one of her students depicting two dogs fused together.
Oh, are these your dogs?
Not anymore.
Not long after, she is shocked to see Tim suddenly show up at her school. Tim explains that his body feels extremely abnormal whenever he is far from her, but once he is near Millie, everything feels normal again. Overcome by emotion, they end up making love in the school restroom. However, after they finish, their bodies cannot separate, and trying to pull apart causes intense pain. They soon realize that a male student is waiting to use the restroom. With no other choice, Millie forces herself to pull away from Tim despite the excruciating pain.
Ow! It hurts.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Acting professionally, she steps out of the restroom and is confronted by Jamie, who has just arrived. Millie apologizes, claiming she had to use the boys' restroom because she is on her period. Jamie forgives her but reminds her not to use the students' rest room again. As he walks away, he briefly seems to notice a man's feet inside the stall, but he chooses not to question it further. When they arrive home, Millie becomes furious with Tim, accusing him of not being aware of the situation and circumstances. She feels deeply embarrassed about what they did in a place where it was clearly inappropriate.
You understand what you did today? Are you trying to ruin this for me? I could have been fired.
My brain and my body aren't talking. You don't understand. I don't think I'm okay.
I guess I don't.
Feeling uneasy about Jamie, Millie decides to visit his house to apologize and hopes that he will not tell anyone about the incident. Jamie invites Millie inside and she begins to open up about her relationship with Tim, which has been getting worse lately. Jamie reveals that he was once married but eventually divorced due to personal issues. As someone who has experienced married life, he tries to offer advice in the hope that Tim and Millie's relationship can improve. However, his advice sounds extremely strange. Jamie says that Tim and Millie must truly become one, even to the point of their bodies physically merging, in order to fully understand each other. His words make Millie uncomfortable. Not long after, she excuses herself and leaves because Tim has been waiting outside and cannot stand being apart from her any longer.
Wedding that I have been looking.
Great, but I should head back.
Sorry, okay, I didn't know where else to go.
That night, Tim reads a message from his friend urging him to come immediately, but in his current condition, joining the band's tour feels impossible. Suddenly, Millie approaches him in an unnatural way. Even though she is asleep, her body moves on its own toward Tim. Their bodies pull toward each other like magnets that cannot be separated. Terrified, Tim is forced to slap Millie to wake her up.
Are you asleep?
Fuck this. Wake up. Oh shit, baby.
In the middle of the night, they sit in silence, trying to understand what is happening. Millie's nose is still bleeding from when she hit the door earlier. Tim finally admits that his body has felt strange ever since they returned from the mysterious cave. Whatever happened there seems to have caused his body to constantly crave physical contact with Millie. He reminds her of how their legs fused together while they were sleeping in the cave, something that defies any logical explanation. Tim insists that he needs to return to the cave to find answers, but Millie refuses to believe him. Their argument escalates until they decide to sleep in separate rooms.
Look, I think something happened to me in the cave. Damn. Mind gets tired, the body can take over. I think it gets worse at night. I remember that morning our legs stuck together? After we had sex. We couldn't separate. Explain that.
I think you should sleep in the spare room tonight. This is ridiculous.
As Millie walks away, a drop of her blood that falls onto the table appears to move toward Tim. They both try to sleep despite the tension. However, once again, something unnatural happens. Their bodies begin moving on their own and their hands fuse together. The merging is excruciatingly painful, and attempting to pull apart only makes it worse. To ease the pain, they take painkillers and desperately try to separate their hands, but exhaustion eventually overcomes them, and they fall asleep, still bound to each other.
Why is this happening?
Fight it.
The pills, the withdrawal.
Put your feet against mine and then push away. Just keep pushing. Just keep pushing.
In the morning, Tim is shocked to see that Millie has prepared an electric saw to separate their hands. Despite the unbearable pain, they eventually manage to free themselves.
Sorry, we don't have time for you to hem and haw about this. I was hoping I'd have more time before you woke up.
Whiskey for the pain.
Wait, babe, I wasn't even sure that was the right tool to...
We have to.
So don't!
We are out of time!
Careful!
Alright, I'm doing it.
But babe, just go!
Afterward, they plan to go to the hospital. However, Millie suddenly remembers that her car keys were left at Jamie's house. Reluctantly, she goes there to retrieve them while Tim stays behind at home. But instead of waiting, Tim grabs a rope and a flashlight and returns to the mysterious cave. Inside, he discovers carvings depicting two human bodies merging into one. From this, he realizes that the water in the cave is the cause of the fusion. It does not only affect humans, but animals as well if they drink it. Suddenly, a strange creature appears in the cave. It turns out to be the couple who had previously been declared missing in the area. They became victims of the mysterious water, which caused their bodies to fuse together. However, their merging is imperfect because they resisted becoming one. Horrified by what he sees, Tim quickly flees the cave. Meanwhile, Millie arrives at Jamie's house. Seeing that the house appears empty, she sneaks inside to retrieve her car keys. While searching, she notices a videotape still playing. In the recording, a couple believed to be Jamie and his partner are shown going through a wedding ceremony. The footage reveals that Jamie is a member of a cult operating in the area. The bells hanging throughout the forest are symbols of that cult. After the ceremony, Jamie and his partner are seen entering the mysterious cave and drinking its water. Shortly afterward, their bodies merge into one, and the Jamie who exists now is the result of that fusion. Suddenly, Jamie appears behind Millie. Calmly, he explains that the merging brought peace to him and his partner. He urges Millie to do the same with Tim so they can live in eternal harmony. He also realizes that Millie and Tim have already drunk the cave's water, meaning their fusion is only a matter of time. To speed up the process, Jamie deliberately cuts Millie's hand. Terrified, Millie immediately flees to find Tim.
Is deeper than anything. It's already happening.
No, I don't want this. Stop it.
Finally, they reunite. At first, Tim and Millie deliberately stand far apart to prevent anything from happening. But once again, their bodies begin moving on their own as if pulled together by an invisible magnetic force that cannot be resisted. Even though their minds fight against it, their bodies continue drawing closer. In that moment, Tim confesses his feelings. He tells Millie how deeply he loves her and how lucky he feels to be her partner. His words sound sincere and deeply romantic to Millie. In his panic, Tim briefly considers sacrificing himself, believing that if one of them dies, everything might end. He is willing to give up his life to save her. But suddenly, Millie collapses as blood from her wound begins flowing heavily toward Tim's body. Losing too much blood, Millie eventually faints. Not long after, Millie regains consciousness. Her condition appears to be improving. Tim explains that he deliberately fused his hand with hers to stabilize her blood flow. At that moment, they both realize there is no longer any way to prevent their bodies from merging. The only choice left is to accept their fate and fully unite their bodies, hearts, and minds. With open hearts, they begin to dance together, embracing each other while listening to their favorite song. Slowly, the merging process resumes and can no longer be stopped. Their bodies gradually fuse completely into one.
I always imagined it as our first dance. I do. I love you.
Love you too.
A few days later, Millie's parents arrive to visit her home. The door opens, and a new figure formed from the complete fusion of Millie and Tim greets them. The look in its eyes reflects a sense of peace, showing that Millie and Tim have finally found harmony within a single body, and that is where the story ends.